Okay, so tell us a little bit about the film and where the idea came from.
I was working with a young student on a project, and we'd finished and we were out having a beer after it, and I was like, oh, so, we've got any work coming up, have you got any ideas? And he went, oh, I've come up with this idea about God and the devil in therapy. And I went, oh, that sounds brilliant, that sounds like a great comedy. And he went, no, it's like a real serious theological essay sort of film. And I went, all right, do you mind if I do a comedy version? And he went, okay. And I saw his theological one the other day, and actually I think it's really funny. He saw issues and then went, oh, actually no, I think it's funnier. So he's got a lot more theological jokes in it, but so yeah, that's where it came from.
And what about you two? I mean, I know that you're quite experienced, like you've baked lots of different things. Is that right? Are you working together as a team regularly, or is that,
Well, we work independently and together. We've got a lot of sort of things on the burner that we are making together for the next sort of 2 years, I suppose. Got things lined up, but I do a lot of independent stuff. Like I see myself primarily as an actor, and I do everything else as a kind of means to an end, if you like, because I like telling stories and stuff like that. So I do a lot of independent acting work, but then when I write a script or I want to produce something, then quite often I'll get Chris involved at whatever level. And I first met him as an editor and a kind of one-man band filmmaker, so I feel quite confident that if I'm ever stuck for something, that he can fill that gap and help me get something made.
And comedy, is this kind of something that's, a regular thing for you?
No, I've been doing a film up in Blackpool recently, and I showed a couple of the people there some of my other parts, some of the other stuff that I've done, and they turned around to me and were quite surprised that actually Issues is funny, because most of my other stuff, as they describe it, involves lots of childhood trauma and young children with issues.
Well, it's a dark comedy as well, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the young kid in there's, got issues, so I suppose it's thematically fitting in with the rest of them. So.
Yeah, they didn't quite like the line "sunfucker," so And kind of like, what else is in the pipeline for you guys? And you were talking about your other project.
Yeah, there's a 5-part little kind of ghost story that I'm making over the course of this next year, called Yuki, which is Japanese for trees, and it's all set in a forest. Sounds exciting. Basically five parts of that being made over the next year, and a feature film hopefully going off in the summer about a documentary crew going to Britain's nicest town, and they find out why it's Britain's nicest town.
And I saw that you had Jermaine Libert there.
Oh yeah, Jermaine's great.
Yeah, and he was in the foreground, obviously, because he's not that tall, is he? So
well, I mean, it kind of worked quite well that he's quite, he's taller and I'm not quite so tall. So
he's big though.
He is.
He's got
he
big
is.
arms.
Big arms, so that's the reason you got him in there. What about the casting then for this?
Gemma Deerfield.
Yeah, I cast everything really, unless he has someone specific in mind for something, or he writes something specifically for someone. I cast everything. I have to admit, and people hate hearing this, but for the most part, I cast who I know, who I trust, who I've worked with before. Mostly because they're people who they'll do the job, they'll turn up in time, they'll treat the work professionally like everyone else. Because when you meet someone new, you never really know how it's going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to all the stuff I do, I'll go out and. I've got my Northwest Women group, and I cast my female roles through that because, again, they're a sort of trusted environment. And then for everything else, it's just the usual kind of websites and things like that. But yeah, I tend to get gut feelings about people, and I tend to go with people who I think have the same kind of goals as us and who treat the work in the same kind of way.
So what's the best way for an introduction then, if people are as actors and they're trying to get introduce themselves? I mean, is it best to do it online, or is it best to come and see come and say, come and see me or something?
It's really hard to say. There's no one way of doing it, and what I tend to go off, like I say, regardless of how I meet them or the circumstances, I go off how they present themselves, what they talk about, who they are, what they've done before can sometimes be a factor. But I'm not one of those people who's kind of all about going for names and trying to get a famous actor in a role for the sake of it, or like to try and raise money for things like that. I'm actually quite a firm believer that actors of all levels deserve the break and they deserve the work, and I go off who I think is right for the part, nothing more.
And also Twitter and a show reel goes down really well with us.
Show reel, yes. Show reel's really important, I think, yeah.
And kind of about what the writing on this, kind of how scripted was it? And did you workshop the actors?
No, it was totally scripted. Down to even the pauses and the like in Jack's opening bit where he was going on about I've caught in bed with my brother. Not that there wasn't the option for ad-libbing, but it was just kind of like written and...
We didn't have the time.
Yeah, it was all filmed in a day, on a Sunday in an actual kind of medical facility with real kind of... where they actually host proper counselling sessions, so... but yeah, I mean, the option was there, but no one chose to go off book.
So has anyone got any questions from the floor for these guys?
Gemma, are you working on a feature film now then? Tell us a bit about what you're doing now.
I've got a feature film that I've written that I'll go into production in February. Sorry, it's called Renegades. It's about 3 renegade angels stuck in Manchester, trying to bring hope to the world and kind of failing miserably by doing TIE tours and various other failed endeavours. So again, it's I've done it. I don't often do comedy, but at the moment it looks like that's all we do. Renegades is another black comedy, and again I've cast most of it through people that I know and stuff like that. But I don't know. What do you want to know?
What's the budget going to be on it?
Well, a rough estimate is about 20,000, but. It's a bit of a tentative question because it's with a potential investor right now, and I'm not entirely sure what their limit is.
We've told them to go as high as they like.
Yeah. But I've also said to all the people involved in the film that we're not putting the film on hold if we don't get the money through in time or something like that. Everybody's very, very, very keen on it. Everybody loves the script, and we've got a loyal cast and crew devoted to bringing this to fruition one way or another, whether it's deferred or whether it's on the day or whatever. So it's happening regardless, and I'm hoping to take it to Cannes next year and sell it there.
So you're going to shoot it in Manchester?
Yeah. It's like a 99% local cast and crew. There's only a couple of other people that I'm bringing in from outside of the northwest, or outside of Manchester, I should say. So, and I'm still casting plenty of roles for that and things like that. But casting calls will go out when the time's right.
Anybody else got a question? Yeah.
I just wondering about the lighting in that film. Would you do the lighting differently if you were to shoot it again?
Yeah, actually, just watching it on the screen there, the grade's slightly dark. As the editor, sat watching it, the grade's very dark. And we didn't, it was pretty little. I'm trying to remember. We shot it over a year ago. But we basically went to B&Q, no fancy lights, just kind of big industrial things, just to throw a lot of light on it.
Dimmer switches and fade and diffusers and stuff like that.
But yeah, I think that's actually the grade that made it look a bit dark.
We believe in limited. What's the word you use?
Believe that limitation breeds creativity. But at the same time, I think it would be nice if you could see the actor's eyes. So. Yeah, all my eyes, like dark sunken eyes.
Well, I suppose the best thing about doing comedies is you get immediate feedback, and you were getting plenty of laughs. So.
Yeah, it's great.
We're always worried about offending people with that.
Well, I think with comedy you've got to, run that risk.
I'm very pro-royal. I don't believe that making jokes about Princess Di. That was accurate.
Why not? Okay, thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you.